That's fucking rage.
Rage, fucking rage.
Rage.
I am so glad I started the recording for Nick Big Squeals.
And that is the new cold opening to all of our episodes.
Free.
Welcome to Beerfield Fantasy Open Air. It's a far cry from fresh air, which is how we started. I am your host at Hot BFF with 2 P's, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri, joined by my esteemed co-host at Nick Spartz. Nick, how are you?
I am doing well. Happy to be back on the mic with you again.
And our guest this weekend, Dan Thury.
I mean, might as well be at this point. I'm on day 6 of 8. Working in a row, and I've kind of been a zombie the last 3 days, so fuck it, I'll be the guest.
Yeah, I don't know.
Happy to be here, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. No, you're not. I don't even want to talk about my day. It's been a definite I need a beer day. But you know what else I need besides a beer? The Fantasy Headliners Draft Guide. That's what I need besides a beer. $19.99, all the information you could ever want. You want offensive line stats, you got it. Offensive coordinator stats, you got it. Head coaching changes, you got it. Promo code BEER at thefantasyheadliners.com. Get all that information in your back pocket ahead of your draft. Guys put a ton of work into that. We don't do a draft guide because we don't like a ton of work. So be sure to check them out. Promo code BEER gives you a chance to win a DJ Moore jersey. We got a show for you today. We're going to go over the AFC South. Nick is, as you know from his time on the show, is a Jaguars fan second behind the Vikings. I am a Jaguars fan second behind the Bears. So
between the two of us, we're a Jaguars fan.
We're a whole Jaguars fan. Between the two of us, we're a whole ass Jaguars fan. Apparently nobody likes the AFC South, so kind of hard to round anybody up for this, but we're going to make it work. But before we do, our real guest at Nick Spartz is back with us. Nick, tell the people where they can find you, what it is that you're working on.
You can find me at Nick Spartz on Twitter. I just noticed a massive bump in my followers over the last couple days, thanks to me getting brought into Scott Fish Bowl 10, and I will try to defend my division title that I got in the Scott Fish Bowl 9 this year.
And that's the main reason why you're on the show, is you got to fulfill your...
My minimum hours of being an analyst.
I guess your quarterly time on the show to be a quote-unquote beer-fueled analysis on here.
Nick, you're in IT, and that's part of what we do, but you've heard of CEs, continuing education. This is your CA.
I'm keeping my certifications live.
Yeah, right. You're keeping your certification as analyst live. So 2 members of the show made Scott Fish Bowl. Congratulations to both of you. I did not, because there was a second analyst from Beerfield put in. It was not me. So actually kind of a blessing in disguise, moving and having a kid. I got to go in the last 2 years, so good luck to everybody that's involved with that. Anyway, I mentioned needing a beer. That's one thing we do well on this show. We got beer. So let's talk about beer.
What's fueling Beerfield?
Nick, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Tropical Hurt Locker. It is a fruited sour ale from Short Fuse Brewing Company.
All right, Dan, what do you got?
I am drinking, as we continue our tour around the states for their divisions, Shiner's Wise and Easy. It is a dewberry ale, 95 calories, unfiltered, all that goodness.
All right, and I am drinking Surly's Garden Variety. So, Garden Variety is an imperial kettle sour brewed with strawberries and cherries from Surly Brewing Company. So, having Nick and Dan on, who introduced me to Surly, I figured this was a fitting selection for tonight.
Excellent choice. I approve.
Same here.
Well, that's what I do. I seek your guys' approval. Let's go ahead
Yeah.
and get into the news.
News.
Dak Prescott signed his franchise tag. Two sides apparently about 1 year apart on a long-term deal. Dak wants 4. Dallas wants him to sign for 5. But he did sign his franchise tender, so $31.24 million. Some uncertainty about the salary cap next year. That salary cap uncertainty and the idea that the NFL salary cap may go down because they're not playing in front of fans could potentially price Dak out of Dallas.
I expect if they get a deal done here, they'll make it with enough flexibility that they can adjust next year if that's what happens. I would expect somebody else ends up being the cap casualty. The teams who are really going to be in trouble are those teams that are up against the cap next year already, and that's with the players they have currently signed. So I believe Vikings are one of those, and there's a bunch of others that are just in deep, deep trouble next year if the cap goes down.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see Dallas not work out a way to keep Dak there. I mean, fuck, they find a way to keep Amari Cooper, who should have been the cap casualty this year, but
well, they should have paid the first for him in the first place when they were up against the cap.
I mean, I guess they didn't want Washington to pay him more money, so here we are for them.
Yeah. Dallas Goedert sucker punch at a South Dakota restaurant, knocking him out cold. Nothing else should come of this, as the video shows it was just a legitimate sucker punch of a guy knocking Dallas Goedert out cold. Dan, you said we're talking about this, so this is really here for you.
Oh, well,
I think you might have been drunk when you said it.
I guess is a fun fact. So Stompy was the original poster of the video that went viral with this, and it's been interviewed, and he's talking to Adam Schefter about it. In terms of fantasy implications, I mean, we gotta wait and see, if there's any actual, damage that would prolong this even further, maybe concussion, but
it said he's
fine.
He went to the hospital, got checked out, no concussion running.
Yeah. So it's a dick move. The guy, I think the guy who did it has already been arrested. So I guess his 3 minutes of fame is up.
Yeah. Moral of the story: don't sucker punch people. Deebo Samuel suffered a Jones fracture during a workout with teammates. Should be sidelined for 3 to 4 months. He's could start the season on the pump and miss the first 6 weeks. So this is interesting for San Francisco. They brought in Brandon Ayuk. It's the first round draft pick. A pick I thought was weird. He's going to get snaps. Maybe Dante Pettis gets out of the doghouse. Doubt it. You've got Jalen Hurd, who converted from a running back, I believe, for his last year or 2 years of college. That was transitioning to wide receiver. Going to be real interesting to see what happens with San Francisco's wide receiver core. Because remember,
they're just
traded Goodwin too.
There's just so many. I mean, it's already a lower volume offense. This team wants to be defense run first and just control the clock for the tempo. George Kittle is still the true number one target on this team.
George Kittle just got insulated value is what happened there.
Yeah, exactly. You can kind of feel that dynamic type of role that Deebo Samuel played, and it's not a terrible role to have, especially with him being a rookie. You don't have to draw up these timing routes and give him this extensive route tree to have him learn. You can basically just be the guy that goes vertical and then takes handoffs or short screens. So I'm not saying that Ayuk's the guy that I want to draft, but it kind of fits in nicely for him to at least have some production year one.
It definitely takes some of the shine off Garoppolo, though. I mean, losing kind of his second target.
Yeah,
I've seen him going, when I was looking at ADP today, he was going above a few guys I thought was questionable already, and now it's really no way.
Yeah, whatever shine he had left, which wasn't much. He had about as much shine as an old penny. Aldrick Rosas, he T-boned a guy while drunk driving after running a red light, and hit a guy at nearly 100 miles per hour. So what that means is the Giants will be in the market for a kicker. Thank you for attending.
Come to Beardfield Fantasy for your kicker
for all your
news.
kicker news. Strongly considering not joining that dynasty league been put out because it doesn't have kickers. By the way,
I know.
More players have tested positive for COVID. This should not be surprising. Get used to this. No specifics really on names. It was 2 Bucks players, but keep an eye on that one, I guess.
Yep.
It's going to
It's gonna
continue,
keep happening.
and it's going to be interesting to see what the NFL comes up with a plan to try to keep players from getting it in the season. Because what's going to happen when a start quarterback gets it in the week, and then so do they have to sit him for 2 weeks now? Like, what's going to be the plan here?
Yeah,
It's gonna be like Sam Darnold with mono all over again.
But all the time, like
You're
multiple
gonna get
players
some-
a week.
You're gonna get some if this does take place and the games keep going. You're gonna get some shitty scoring weeks.
quarterbacks are going to be in a bubble.
Yeah.
And you're going to have
Find a good backup.
betting lines just get totally screwed by some of this stuff,
There's
and
gonna be
fantasy teams get screwed.
There's gonna be a lot of no lines. A lot of games that are going to be put by the wayside if too many starting quarterbacks are out.
Or even not even quarterbacks, just like major key players start getting it.
Yeah.
True. Plus, you got guys in the league that are old, so they're high risk, like Tom Brady and Frank Gore.
Yep.
Protect them.
High risk players.
Right.
Right.
Division Preview.
Yeah, COVID has really made news not fun because there's a lot of news. Let's go into previewing the season we think will happen, though. Go ahead and continue that with the AFC South, not the AFC East. Thanks, Dan.
So,
Setting
forgot to change one thing.
Setting me up for failure as usual.
Oh, yay!
Yay. All right, starting off with the Houston Texans. DeAndre Hopkins is out of town. David Johnson is into town. And that's really what we're going to be breaking down. Brandon Cooks also into town. More on that later if you did not listen last week when I went off on my Brandon Cooks rant. But starting off, is Deshaun Watson still a top 5 quarterback without DeAndre Hopkins? And I think the answer is yes.
That is the correct answer.
Yeah.
It's the yes with the question mark attached to it. So, maybe?
Yeah,
Like-
yes, but concerns?
I
Yeah.
mean, so they didn't really replace. So with them replacing Hopkins with Cook, who doesn't really fill the same type of route tree and just like areas of field that he should be, targeted in. I don't really know where those targets are going to be truly vacated to. This defense is fucking terrible, though. Like, this secondary is so really bad. So Watson in itself should at least be throwing the football a lot. And he's got, decent rushing upside. So I can see him as the top 5 quarterback. I wouldn't have him as as part of the tier 1 guys anymore. He's part of that group of QBs who could be top 5 that bring on a little bit more risk.
Yeah, I think it's Lamar, Mahomes, Dak is in
Kyler
there.
and Dak.
Kyler's in there, and then 5th
Wilson.
is Wilson. Yes, is all. Wilson's up there too with Dak and Kyler.
Is he?
so
I would take
I would
Wilson
think so.
over Kyler.
why wouldn't he be? You got any reason to not like him right now?
Well,
Yeah,
the offense in itself, I mean, like, it's not a high volume offense when it comes to throwing the football.
Has it ever been?
But- Hasn't ever mattered either. He
Yeah.
still performs.
All right, Dan,
I
take a
mean-
quick guess. What's Russell Wilson's career high in pass attempts?
Isn't it 556?
553 is his career high.
Oh, it's
He's
close.
had over 550 attempts once. One time. He's had 4 seasons under 500.
Okay.
That's why I say, has it ever mattered? Because we've considered Russell Wilson a top 5 dynasty quarterback, really, probably for the last 5 years or so now. To 2 of those 5 years have been under 500 pass attempts. One was 516, one 546, one 553. 516 was last year. He still had 31 touchdowns, 4,000 yards, to just 5 picks, and his offense has not changed. So I don't have a reason to not like Russell Wilson right now.
I don't disagree that he could be. I just, like I said, he wouldn't be in my top tier because of
Well, no, I don't.
We expect Kyler Murray to throw the ball a lot. We know what Dak and that offense could be. So your top 4 that we just talked about is that we expect potentially Josh Allen to take that next leap. You have Deshaun Watson in there. I would definitely put Wilson in that tier. It's just
I'm just saying
maybe top 5 to top 8. It's probably the same.
Well, it's the same thing with Deshaun Watson. Yeah. Same argument for Dak Prescott, who's not really been a high volume or a fantastic passer, even though we want to mention him in that same breath. It's all guys that could be and that could rotate in there. Thing is when you say top 5 or top tier, your second tier spans beyond position 5. I think is what you run into there.
No, I agree.
And just personally, I would take Watson, Wilson, and Dak over Murray. I know everyone's chasing that second-year breakout, but I'll take the 3 proven guys.
I mean, that's also fair.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yep, and I've been hesitant on Murray, and I still kind of am, more so than the other guys that are a bit more proven. I mentioned Murray more because that seems to be consensus, but I don't know how much I necessarily agree with that take. He could be, but he hasn't shown it yet after 1 year in the league. And I think that, the tendency a lot of people have is you chase new hotness. It was surefire Patrick Mahomes, and then he regresses a little bit. Now it's surefire Lamar Jackson, and then what happens when he regresses a little bit? Everybody chases new hotness with this, and you forget about a guy like, Russell Wilson. We've talked a lot on this show about the hate for Dak Prescott, even though we tend to like him. Deshaun Watson's a guy who's not talked about a whole heck of a lot anymore because you're 3 years removed. Very much recency bias in fantasy football. So,
I agree.
I agree with the call out. You cannot forget Wilson.
No, you definitely cannot.
All right. Breaking down the running backs. So Carlos Hyde is out of town. Lamar Miller is dead, I think. I'm not even sure. What do you make of David?
That's a good question. What the fuck is Lamar Miller?
The free agent still, I believe.
Okay.
So you got David Johnson brought in after one big year and then several very, very down years. Going as a running back 18 at the 307. Duke Johnson, 12-11, running back 52. What I make of this is pretty simple. You've got upside in David Johnson at the 307. It's a running back 18. Sure, you go ahead and take him there. He's not going to be your first running back at that position, and there's a ton of upside. I like Duke Johnson at the running back 52, though, also, because if David Johnson struggles like he has the last couple of years and struggles with injury again, there's a pretty good chance Duke Johnson gets the first shot at it having some form of consistently high workload. And we've seen him be efficient, and a lot of people wanted that for a long time. I think Duke Johnson could end up in Chris Carson range if David Johnson struggles.
So there's a bit of a change. So when I do my ADPs, as you guys know on the show, I just do view today's ADPs. It gives you the last 6 days worth of it. Since I put this script together last night, Duke Johnson has fallen a full round at the 409 and 3 spots now at the RB21.
David Johnson has?
I'm sorry, David Johnson is. Yeah. Excuse me.
Why are they both named DJ? That's really unfortunate.
I love David. Like, I mentioned that there's this kind of lull without this, Deshaun or DeAndre Hopkins, where he gets targeted generally, across the field. You didn't really replace that when you brought in Brandon Cooks. So you can see a lot more of these tight ends and running backs be used in this low ADOT type of area where guys like David Johnson and Duke Johnson plus the tight ends can both be productive. I don't know if David Johnson can actually handle a full workload anymore, but if he's my RB3 where that bust risk is effectively gone, it's just complete upside, and Bill O'Brien has to have some sort of plan for him. You don't completely trade your your best player on your team, or at least your second best player on your team, for an aging running back and not have a plan for it.
Bill
So-
O'Brien, he definitely does.
With him slipping, did he slip past Chris Carson and James Conner? Because those were the two names
Yes.
I saw that 100% need to go in front of him.
So as of right now, both of them are 4 and 5 spots ahead of.
That's
Okay.
fair.
2 and 4 spots. So Carson's at the 306 RB16. James Conner is the RB19 at the 311 right now.
Okay. That's much, much, much better. When I checked it earlier, it was definitely he was too high compared to where he needed
How
to
high
be.
is too high? Do you think? Do you think third round is too high for him?
For David Johnson, yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
He hasn't been able to stay healthy the last few years, and when he has been healthy, he has not been himself, and he's going to a terrible offensive line right now.
I think, focus off of David Johnson for a second, though. I think the real travesty here is how undervalued Duke Johnson is. These two should be closer in ADP. For the reason
I'm not like it shouldn't. They shouldn't be close, but Duke should definitely be higher.
they should be closer in ADP for the reason that Dan said, which is that David Johnson has not been able to stay healthy or put it all together for the last couple of years. You might be bringing him in to, be kind of a workhorse, but we know Bill O'Brien will use more than one back, annoyingly. Alfred Blue. If Alfred Blue can get touches, Duke Johnson can get touches. So I'm just saying they should be closer.
Well, the problem with Duke is that, like, even when he's been given the chance to take on a full workload, nobody's believing in him. So yes, now without Lamar Miller there, or Colorado side, if something were to happen to David Johnson, what's to say that they just won't bring in somebody else? Like, that's what's going to hurt Duke Johnson's value. I like him because I think he's going to see. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some more work out of the slot. If he kind of becomes that Chris Thompson with what he was in Washington, running more routes out of the slot, and he takes on a little bit more of that type of workload and kind of handle that short area ADP or that short area ADOT, where if with his bad offensive line, Watson can just check it down to his very athletic running back.
By the way, A. which Dan keeps saying, average depth of target, just in case you need clarity. I think it's a good call out that the short routes are kind of vacated. We know that Brandon Cooks is not, a one-trick run deep pony. He proved that when he was in New England, to where he can work all levels of the field if you need him to be. But you're better off using him in the intermediate and the deep game. So you're right. You do have to open up the middle of that field. That's going to be Duke Johnson. That's going to be David Johnson. And then we'll get into tight ends here in just a minute. But I think that that's also a good call out, is that can David Johnson handle a full workload? And you have those vacated targets around the middle. I think that there's just a lot of indicators here that potentially point to more work for Duke, though, that says he should be higher than round 12.
It should be. Every year, though, we say it. Like, every year feels like he should have gotten more work than Lamar Miller. Like, Lamar Miller was, Carlos Hyde was fucking terrible last year, and still Duke Johnson couldn't do it. It's I don't understand why he can't get more work, with him on a second team, but this shapes up to be better. Like, if something happens to David Johnson, there should be no excuse for Duke to not see more work.
Carlos Hyde wasn't too bad. 245 rushes, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4.4.
Horrifically inefficient.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Well,
yeah.
4.4 yards attempt, though. An attempt, though, isn't horrifically inefficient. It's the yards per reception that was terribly inefficient.
Yeah. I think some of the advanced stats on him too, in terms of like what he created for himself, was real bad.
Yeah,
he was basically what Carlos Hyde has always been in his career. It's just he got the workload to get there on an offense that was semi-productive.
He finally got 1,000 yards.
Yep, like he's basically, as I called out on our AFC East episode, that's gonna be Sony Michel this year.
Yeah. All right, on to the wide receiving core. Brandon Cook 701.31, Will Fuller 802.36. Tight ends here in a minute. I've made my thoughts very, very well known about my feelings on Brandon Cooks in this offense, so I will abstain because I've talked about the Texans wide receivers a lot the last couple weeks.
I think it's crazy that with updated ADP today, they are one spot apart in the rankings, and they're 7 spots apart in the actual draft. Or no, I'm sorry, 11 spots or 10 spots apart in the draft. Cooks is still going 7th round. Fuller is still going in the 8th round. If Will Fuller could stay healthy, like if I was guaranteed, like if you told me that Will Fuller will in guarantee play 16 games, I would take him over Cooks. But there's no fucking way that he would be guaranteed to play 16 games because he's never done it. And which is why the Brandon Cooks ADP is super disrespectful to him at 707. Like he has the opportunity because he's the healthiest receiver on this roster.
Well, you're
that
also
he could legitimately see 125 plus targets.
You're also not giving Will Fuller 10 plus targets a game like you were giving DeAndre Hopkins either.
Yeah.
Well, no,
regardless of if he plays all 16.
Yeah, there should be approximately 4,000 yards to go around here. Cooks has to get the largest chunk of any of that unless he gets injured for the entire season.
Right, which is why I've been off of Brandon Cooks in Dynasty because he's one concussion away. But at the same time, I've been all over Brandon Cooks in redraft because of what he's done as a wide receiver one, because there's 150 vacated targets, 10.5 targets a game that are sitting out there open, because on a career high 125 targets, he's had multiple 1,000-yard seasons as a wide receiver one in an offense. And Will Fuller isn't playing a full 15. Kenny Stills or 16. Kenny Stills is not a threat to that. So,
nope.
You know,
and Fuller, as far as I can tell, he's a collective hallucination that appears for a few weeks and then disappears again, and we forget about him.
He shows up, he posts like 2 or 3 wide receiver 1 weeks, and then he's gone.
Yep, and it's like, who was that? What happened? Where are we? What year is it?
He's the other Sammy Watkins.
As far as tight ends, Kahale Waring's the guy to watch here.
Yes.
He's a guy we liked coming out last year. Tight end going into his second season. He was injured for parts of last year. He can operate as a receiver. There is going to be short to intermediate targets available, and I would be surprised if Kahale Waring does not get some of that. He's another guy that I think if you do the 2 late round tight end and hope something sticks methodology, I think that he's one that you target for that, along with Josh Oliver, who we'll get to later. But at the same time, you can probably leave him out there on waivers and stream him, and we will talk about him as a streamer at some point this year.
Yeah, like you don't need to draft him. No one's gonna people are gonna draft Darren Fells before they draft Kahale Waring. This is a tight end core that I want to keep my eye on. I think Darren Fells had like 3 or 4 weeks that he was a top 7 or 8 tight end. Just stretches, especially around the goal line where Watson can make plays, can extend plays, and these guys could just slip out and find a soft spot in that defense and make hay.
Yeah, I mean he had 7 touchdowns last year, so he had a pretty solid season. The big thing is just the targets weren't there. He got 3 targets a game. If that can jump up to 5+ a game, I'm a little more interested in Fells, but Waring is definitely someone to watch and could be the one who actually overtakes the number 1 role.
Yeah,
he's the guy to watch second half of the season. He's still a rock, but he played 8 sports in high school. He didn't play football until his senior year. He's still a raw prospect, but he's super athletic, and that's all you care about. So he's someone that you throw on your watch list, and hopefully second half of the year, where the cream rises to the top, and hopefully he's healthy and he can do enough, with a guy like Watson.
Yeah, very good athlete. Anything else on the Texans before we move on?
Only other thing I would throw out is just due to lack of targets that are retained on this team. I will probably own Cobb on at least a few deep rosters.
Yeah,
I think you'll see some work.
He's going to be the inside speed slot receiver. He's going to see something.
A real Kiki Kuti.
Yeah, your Kuti type.
A non-knockout Kuti.
Indeed. All right. On to the Titans. Tannehill worth drafting in 1 quarterback leagues. Not a chance am I biting on that in a 1 quarterback league.
Hell no.
I heavily disagree. I'm 100% in on him.
Are you?
Okay.
You think you can repeat the efficiency?
Even if you go with his most conservative rate numbers, he still would have been a back-end quarterback 1 last year. So
do you think that offense doesn't? Do you think the offense as a whole though doesn't take a step back? Because the whole offense was highly efficient last year. From
I expect it to take a slight step back, but you have to remember too. You could get to throw out the 5-ish Mariota games now and use Tannehill the entire
Oh no, I'm
season.
going strictly off of when Tannehill started. And like he was insane. Like this is still a run first, decent defense. This isn't a great division in terms of offensive output, so there should be decent game script for the team that is probably likely the favorite to win the division.
There's just things about Tannehill that make it. I know last year was an insane run for him, and I don't want to take anything away from what he did, but 70% completion percentage, way higher than his career average. 28 attempts a game, not typically enough volume to get it done unless you're, running at Lamar Jackson levels. 7.7% touchdown rate. Again, that is really, really high compared to what his career average was. And yes, he toiled away in Miami for a while. I get it. I know that he's always been athletic. I know that the talent's been there. But yards per attempt, way higher than his career average. Yards per completion, way higher than his career average. Yes, A.J. Brown helps that with his efficiency. We'll get to him in a minute. Tannehill put up a lot of career numbers on some underlying metrics last year. And, I think that when you put up that many career numbers and you're that much higher than what you've done on average, that it is just a recipe to regress a bit. And I think that he's going to be a fine streamer. I just don't know that you can expect him to keep up with what he did last year or really confidently say, yes, I'm taking him in a one quarterback league. I don't know what his schedule is. Maybe that sways it a little bit to where you start off with him as your quarterback. But, just wire to wire, I can't look at it and feel good about it.
Yeah, I'm not going to feel great seeing 27 attempts per game. He averaged, his 16 game pace was 432 attempts. You can't be excited drafting that. It's the same way with running backs. You want to follow where the volume is going to be. And we know that nothing changed in this offense besides them keeping Tannehill. There's nothing that really changed. So there's something to suggest that this team is going to all of a sudden, this defense is going to just collapse. This running game is just going to become anemic, where Tannehill is going to have to throw the ball 150 more times.
Well, they did lose one of their best run blocking offensive linemen, but in terms of Tannehill, he only lost 98 targets, and I projected his stats out on the conservative side, and that would still put him up close to 300 fantasy points.
Yes, targets, Dan. He's a converted wide receiver. He lost 98 targets.
Yes, among people he was throwing to, he lost 98.
I know.
Attempts. We call those attempts, Nick.
I see where Nick is coming from.
Some of the names that are going over him, it's like Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield, Brady, Stafford, Cousins, Goff, Roethlisberger. I would take him over all of them.
Oof.
Roethlisberger's iffy for me. I would. Maybe Brady. Brady's an interesting one though. We got into him a bit, and all right.
I still think Brady.
Yeah, we got into Brady a little bit when we talked AFC East, but Brady's an interesting one, and I get it. I can see why you would take the gamble on the guy that's in a different offense for the first time in his career and absolutely lit it up over, a Daniel Jones type or an ancient Tom Brady sore or whatever.
I do agree. there's
an argument for it.
What's that?
Just said there's an argument for it for sure.
There is an argument for it. If the defense does struggle, if the running game isn't as efficient as it was last year, and Tannehill has to throw more, that's all you want. You want to take a quarterback who at least is going to throw the ball over 500 times. At least you feel confident in saying that. I don't know if I can say that about Tannehill right now.
Sure. Speaking of running game, Derrick Henry, 107 running back 6. Is he a top 5 running back in 2020? I do not know if he's top 5. I think top 5 is a little ambitious for a guy that's mostly a pure runner. At the same time, I don't see Darrington Evans taking a ton of work away from him. I don't know that I'd say top 5, top 8. Sure, I'm confident with that. Draft him as a running back 1. Draft him near the back end of the first round. I think that's all completely fine.
He is now, I think, with the Cook news and then with him potentially holding out, and I think just with updated ADP. He moved up to RB5.
Nope.
This is half point. So spot hasn't changed, or he's moved up one spot to the 106. There's just not enough pass catching upside for him. Like, he has one of the highest floors. He has a very high floor because the offense is going to go through him. I still believe that. But there's you have to bet on him being as good as he was last year. And
top 10, yes. Top 5, no. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think he's more back in top. I think he's more back in RB1 for me.
I think just given the lack of people without question marks behind him, I do think he is a top 5 running back this year. I'm just not sure he's worth the 106, 107. There might be a few receivers I would still take over him in half point.
That is one thing I've noticed with a lot of drafts this year, too, is that the value on receivers is so far down that's probably inflating Henry's value a bit because...
Oh, yeah, there's so much for Russ RB. There's so much you have to go heavy RB.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't believe that there's anybody behind him that gets work. I just don't know, if they key too much on him, you got to see that they can adjust, and it's really the passing upside that concerns me just a little bit with him.
Okay, so let's do our Derrick Henry versus here.
Okay.
Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook?
Henry.
In a vacuum, give me Dalvin Cook.
Derrick Henry, or I would take Dalvin Cook too. Derrick Henry or Josh Jacobs?
Henry.
Probably Henry there for me. More proven.
Derrick Henry or Joe Mixon?
Henry.
I still have question marks about what the Bengals offense is going to be.
You know me and Mixon. I'm all aboard that train.
I know, and it very well could pay off, but at least I know what Tennessee is doing.
I could definitely see. So right there, that's your RB5 through 8. You can go RB9, you can go Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb.
So I think what I know about that area is that I'm probably with Nick. I'm probably going wide receiver and not owning Derrick Henry in that realm of running backs. Because I can get a guy like James Conner, like Chris Carson, like Austin Eckler, Leonard Fournette later on.
Let's go with... So we're obviously taking Michael Thomas over Derrick Henry, correct?
Yeah.
We're going half point. He's one spot ahead of Derrick Henry. Behind him, one spot, is Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I'd take Adams.
I'd take Adams, but it's interesting.
It is interesting.
I have completely bought it because of where receivers are going. If this shifts, if somehow there's a monument shift in zero RB, like fucks around with ADP, then maybe things will get interesting. There's still so much value in the 4th and 5th round for receivers with upside.
Tyreek Hill's the 3rd wide receiver off the board, right?
DeAndre Hopkins is one spot ahead of him.
Okay, no.
I would take Hill over Hopkins for sure.
I'd do Hill over Hopkins as well, and I would probably do Hill over Henry. Is what I was getting at.
Okay, how about Julio Jones? I think this one's really interesting.
No, I'd take Henry over Julio for sure. Not enough touchdowns for Julio.
I'd take Julio.
That one's close.
You can't just predict. Like, we always talk about touchdowns as being this like you can't predict it.
He scored double-digit touchdowns once in his career. I can predict it. He is not getting double-digit touchdowns.
Matt Ryan's throwing the ball 600 times again. Bad defense, great offensive division. I don't give a fuck about Calvin Ridley.
And all the touchdowns are going to go to Ridley, Gurley, and
Hayden Hurst. Okay.
Hurst.
And you know what? Julio Jones is still consistently a top 6 or 7 wide receiver without double digits.
He will. He just won't be able to blow up into the 1.
Right. So
if the touchdown, it's just one season. So if the touchdown actually positively, regress it towards what he should be getting compared to his, when you compare it to his targets, there's a very real argument that Julio Jones could be the wide receiver 1. It's just,
but from a strategy,
there's some fucking reason he just doesn't get touchdowns.
But from a strategy standpoint, so taking it out of the vacuum from a draft strategy standpoint, I think I would rather draft Julio Jones and take a shot on 2 or 3 running backs with upside later on than I would rather take a shot on a guy like, on Brandon Cooks keeping his head on his shoulders, or an AJ Green or a Juju Smith-Schuster later on. I think I'd rather take more of the surefire wide receiver in Julio Jones and then give me an Eckler or Carson.
That's fair.
Somebody a little bit later on.
I mean, Julio Jones is going top of the second round.
Yeah.
He's wide receiver 5, 203. You can pair Henry. I don't think Henry is going to be.
You can grab them both at the
fit
turn and call it a day.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to throw that out there. I think it's interesting when you start looking at, post tier 1 running backs compared to what we, would consider tier 1 receivers.
Actually, Nick, I don't know how you feel about this, but if I came out of the turn with Derrick Henry and Julio Jones, I'd feel pretty damn good.
Yeah, that would be an excellent start. I just don't know that Julio falls far enough for you to grab them both.
Yeah, Dan just said he's a 203.
So right now Henry's 106.
In a 10 team, you could do it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty realistic in 12 team, but we're also projecting what this thing's going to look like in 2 months.
Sure. All right. Moving right along then with that. On to the wide receivers. AJ Brown, 407, wide receiver 17. I think that's fair, honestly. I love me some AJ Brown. I love what he's able to do after the catch. He's a guy that proved last year he does not need a ton of volume. If you believe the volume can go up, then great. But AJ Brown's the real deal here, and I'm completely on board with him at that ADP.
Well, you have to love AJ Brown if you like Ken Hill, for sure.
And the volume is going to go up. He had 84 targets. There's no way he only has 84 targets next year.
Yeah.
He's going to be 110 plus for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. If he's 110 plus, he can easily outperform that wide receiver 17 if he gets up in that range. And regression from a yards after catch standpoint might be coming, but I don't know that regression as a whole is coming.
Well, I mean, like you expect regression from his yards per reception, yards after the catch, but if you predict and if you believe, which I agree too, that he's going to see a bump in targets, like Corey Davis isn't going to be the one to start the year. It's going to be Brown. While that being shifted focus to him, from the secondary, he proved that early on in his rookie year that he can handle top coverage. Yeah. I wouldn't personally take him as a wide receiver 1. I think there is a little bit of a buzz risk, but I also believe that Tannehill's not throwing the ball over 550 times. Brown as my wide receiver 2, like if I start balance running back, receiver, I'm all aboard that. I think there's a lot of upside in Brown to it.
Give me either ors for 14, 15, 16 with AJ Brown.
Yeah. So right now AJ Brown is the wide receiver 15. So with updated AP, one day after I write this, he's wide receiver 15 at the 403. I'll give you the 2 guys ahead of him and the 2 guys behind him, and we'll talk about it. Sure. So we'll start with the guys ahead of him. Wide receiver 13, 312 is Calvin Ridley.
Ooh,
I would take
he's that high.
Brown over Ridley.
Yeah, give me Brown over Ridley.
Oh. Yeah, that's cool.
And I like Ridley, but I'll give me the 1 over the 2.
And I think I think Ridley gets a bit of an influx too with Austin Hooper not there. But yeah, give me the 1 over the 2, like Nick just said. Because Hayden Hurst could just step in and take most of Austin Hooper's targets.
I think it's close. I don't like.
I get it. It's close.
I get it that you want to take the 1 on a team, but give me the 2 on a top 3, a pass attempt offense. So there's that insulated target volume that I expect to be there. Like really should have got 100 targets last year. Brown's going to get it this year. I think both of them are priced fair. It's super close to me.
I think Brown's a better athlete too.
Oh, Brown's a far better athlete.
So
really, but this is one season. Like I'll take the expected pass volume slightly over the offense. I still think it's going to be run first. Anyways, T.Y. Hilton, wide receiver 14, 402.
Brown over Hilton for sure.
Yeah, Brown over Hilton with Rivers, not knowing how that's going to work.
Yeah, I agree there. So 1 spot behind Brown, Cortland Sutton.
Yeah. That's a good one.
1 spot behind him, literally.
I might go Sutton.
See, I don't know because, man, that's tough. You're right. That is a good one. I would probably still lean AJ Brown just because I want to see more out of Sutton and Locke before I am on board with it. You also have the addition of Jerry Jeudy, the addition of Melvin Gordon, a second year of Noah Fant, and I just think there's less competition for targets in Tennessee.
Yeah, I think this is extremely close. I'd take Brown and his upside.
Yeah.
I think Sutton may have a little higher floor, maybe. But again, like that Denver offense completely changed, and Drew Lock's only played 6 games. We don't quite know who Drew Lock is at the moment.
Don't get me wrong, we expect him to be good. But
yeah, trust me, I know. Last one, I think this one's super close. DJ Moore, 1 spot behind or 2 spots behind Brown at the 405.
I think I still stick with Brown because he gets the continuity at quarterback versus a quarterback change.
Yeah, also
but that is real close
because Tannehill's more likely to air it out and gunsling and take chances, and I think they're going to be a bit more conservative there in Carolina.
See, I would take Moore just because I know how Teddy. Like, I get it, Nick. I completely agree. There is a bit of an unknown. There's a whole a culture shift, but Carolina is going to be a bad team, constantly playing from behind. And I think Moore is going to set up nicely with a lot of that like intermediate short area of field to work with the ADOT, and he's insane. Like he's like Brown, he's insane after the catch. Moore is a better athlete too. So I would take the potential of the high volume offense with what I think is going to be one of the worst defenses in football in Carolina, constantly playing from behind. It's close. I agree with you guys that it's close, but I would lean a DJ Moore here.
You know, after hearing that list, though, that's all guys I think pretty much with a lot of upside. But if that's the guys in like the 13 to 17 range, I'm starting to think maybe I do want a receiver early.
Yeah, that's what the point I was making with Julio too, is because there's a lot of volatility at the receiver position. There's a lot of upside, but there's a lot of volatility there.
It just speaks to the depth of receiver. I love, like, you're right. Like, if I go RB heavy, it's not the best thing in the world to feel great about, having these, I don't want to say boom bust, but potential bust receiver.
Yeah, they're more home run swing style guys as opposed to like, I know I can trust them.
Okay, then here, let's do this then. There's one guy that we talked about a couple weeks ago with Zombie that we both like, Hopper and I both like. I think all three of us liked. That's Keenan Allen. He's going at the 407. He's 4 spots behind Brown. Wide receiver 18. Would you take Keenan Allen over AJ Brown?
Depends how my draft started, I think, on that one. How safe do I need that pick to be?
So if you go RB heavy, which is what would probably happen at this point, would you take...
I think I'd go Allen.
Okay.
But if I have a wide receiver already over Brown, I probably go Brown.
Okay.
Yeah. I can agree with that. And Johnny Smith. So Johnny Smith has flashed when he's had the chance, when Delanie Walker hasn't been healthy, and Johnny Smith has been. He's going to step into vacated target volume with Delanie Walker not being there. 1308, tight end 17. This is a guy who we like, is an athlete who has also flashed the ability to do it, who I definitely do advocate for taking in the 13th round or the 10th round or the 11th round or the 12th round or whatever the case may be. And now he's finally going to get the chance. This is somebody that I've waited for to have the chance to do it, and I am not concerned that he's going to be able to be a productive player.
Yeah, I when I talk about waited on tight end and just take 2 dart throws, Jonnu Smith is one of my highest targeted guys. He's already flashed. We've already seen what his potential could be, even on a lower volume offense. So why not pair with a hyper athletic guy that has continued to develop the trust of chemistry with Ryan Tannehill? He has moved up a full round. He's in the 12th round now. I expect that to fluctuate throughout. There's a lot of guys around this range that are going to be considered those guys you wait on, and it just depends which ones kind of rise to the top, and then you just pick the middle to back ones, and then just watch as you find the next Mark Andrews. Like Jonnu Smith is insane. I think he has insane upside because of just how athletic he is and how much of a monster he can be in the red zone.
I agree.
Nick, are you healing people, or do you have a thought?
I'm absolutely healing people, but yeah, I love Jonnu Smith. He should be up to in the 60-70 target range this year with Pruitt and Walker both gone. Ferkser is just going to be kind of a backup fill-in. I don't expect a whole lot out of him. So Smith should be very solid, and he's definitely one of those late-round tight ends I'd be targeting based on how things look right now.
Yeah, I agree. All right, welcome to Pure Field Fantasy. Chris and Nick do other stuff while also doing a podcast. So little not football related thing though. I got to thinking the other day. It's summer-ish. So, Father's Day, everybody's out grilling ribs. We had some steak the other day. Macaroni salad's always a good one. We had some hot dogs in celebration of Memorial Day. So, my question to the group: what is the 101 of summer cookout food?
Oh, you mentioned ribs. That would be mine. Like I fucking love ribs, smoked, whatever, just all the ribs in and around my mouth.
See, for me, ribs is a barbecue food, and I consider cookout food different because that would be something on the grill. So there would be a distinction there.
You can smoke them. You can grill them too.
That's how I used to eat them at my mom's house. My stepdad used to grill them all the time.
All right, but for me, 101 food, 100% is beer brats, no question.
That's awesome.
Yeah, beer brats is a good one. I gotta go with the good old flame kissed hamburger, the old classic one, cheeseburger rather. Get a little, char on that burger, some of that nice charcoal flavor to it, and that's a hard one to beat. Hot dogs are up there too. Classic hamburger and hot dogs, real good. What about sides? We all hit on main courses. So, what is your favorite cookout side?
If it's made perfect, potato salad. If I'm going for consistency, mac and cheese.
I mean, for me, it is potato salad. Like I also love macaroni salad. It's potato salad though, or consistency too. Baked beans. Love me some baked beans.
So for me, it's macaroni salad just because it would be mac and cheese, but I do not discriminate against mac and cheese. That is not just a cookout thing for me. That is a year-round thing. That is a side at most restaurants thing for me. Like, if there's mac and cheese there, I will eat it, and it does not matter when it is or what the situation is. So I got to go with macaroni salad for the cookout food because that is not an everyday, every week thing for me. All right, let's hit a beer review, and then we'll talk Colts and Jags.
Beer review.
All right, Nick, go ahead and start us off.
All right, I had Tropical Hurt Locker, which was a fruited sour ale from Short Fuse. It is incredibly strong on the raspberry and passion fruit flavors. I think it's fantastic, though it is a very tart drinker, so it's kind of a one-and-done type where you're not want to drink multiple of them. So my second beer is a wheat ale that I'll be getting to in a minute here. But overall, very happy with it, and Short Fuse has generally been pretty good.
All right, awesome. Dan, what do you got?
Shriner's Weiss and Easy. This is it's super light, low cal, low carb, low everything. It's made with dewberries. It's basically as advertised. It's a slightly berry forward ale. That the berry flavoring kind of it falls off towards the end of the actual drink. So think of almost like a seltzer. In that type of aspect to it. It's definitely crushable. I think it's only like 4.5%. It's actually 4%. Just grabbed it off the pick six at work. I figured why not? I do a lot of hazies and barrel aged beers on the show, so I wanted to go with something super different. Not the worst thing, but it's definitely as advertised.
All right, for me, I had Surly's Garden Variety. A little bit hazy, a little bit darker. Definitely tastes like it's a headache if you drink too many of them, and by that I mean it's super, super sweet. The strawberry really more so dominates it. It doesn't taste like. It almost tastes like a strawberry sucker. It doesn't taste so much like like a tart strawberry, like I just bit into one, but it almost tastes like a strawberry Dum Dum, which is a great flavor for me. But it also tastes like if I drink about 4 or 5 of them, also because they're imperial, that I'm going to completely regret it the next morning and be popping ibuprofen. Overall, very good beer, super sweet, very, very light. Definitely something I could see drinking out by the pool. You're just having 1 or 2 while you're out for a swim or whatever. Cherry doesn't really pop through on this, maybe a little bit at the back end. It's not a tart cherry, it's more like cherry juice. But overall, it's a good beer, and it's a little bit different take from Surly, who I'm used to drinking, stouts and IPAs from.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's part of their small batch series. I don't know. I'd never seen it before, so I just thought I'd grab it.
I'd say rotational. They do, I think, 1 every month or 2. They just do a very small batch release of it. So there's a question that was just posed that I'm surfacing through on Twitter here that I want to get your guys' thoughts on. It is fitting for the show because we just got done talking about the Texans not too long ago. The dynasty question: would you rather have Darius Geis, Le'Veon Bell, or David Johnson in dynasty? It's a random thought.
How competitive is my team?
How competitive you want it to be?
I mean, because if I'm competitive at all, I guess give me Le'Veon Bell, just for the guaranteed work, and the chance to an RB2, RB3 in a championship caliber team. But if I'm not expecting to compete this year, give me Geis just for the long-term upside, because the other 2 are on the way out.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at. I was going to take it from the rebuilding perspective, which is give me Darius Geis because there's long-term upside there. Couple in the injuries, you haven't really gotten to see what he can be. You got to see it flash again last year. So you're really hoping he can put it all together, but there's a lot more long-term upside there than there is for Johnson or Le'Veon Bell. If I'm close to winning, I'll take Bell over Johnson, but I could see an argument being made for both. They're kind of the same player.
Gross older back with volume.
And upside, and they've been good in the past. Yeah, exactly. Except for one doesn't have Adam Gase.
Yeah. And the other one is Bob. Ugh. So if you're a competitive team, I would hope that Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson aren't your RB1s. So I would just take Geis in the upside. Like they all present injury risk to them. Geis has to have the most juice left in the tank at this point. Has to. And even though we expect Washington's offense to be the worst of the 3, potentially, we at least have gotten this. Like we at least have seen glimpses of the upside that Geis can present even in a bad Washington offense. So I agree that I would definitely take Geis in a rebuild. I would even strongly consider taking Geis if I have that competitive team, because then I at least have a running back of the future if I have to trade away some capital. I saw it on here on Twitter. I thought it was a good question to ask.
No, I like it.
I mean, I like the question too, because you don't hear that framed up that often, because it's a couple of older guys versus a young guy. Yep. But in the same point, they all have some serious question marks.
Yeah, and they're definitely assets that fit better into certain team situations.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
All right, on to the Colts. Phillip Rivers is a thing. Do we need to address? Do we need to address Phillip Rivers?
That's how I felt when I wrote him down. I'm like, do I really like? I don't want him in single QB leagues, obviously. And he, like, what is his true upside? Like, he finally has a good offensive line to play behind, but he's so slow, and he's not mobile at all. Like,
your upside's a streaming quarterback, I think.
Yeah. So he's in that QB like 13 to 19, 20 range.
Right.
He's probably closer to 18 to 20.
Like he's not sexy. That's it. Like there's no rushing upside, new offense, obviously. I think this is a good receiving core. I think there's a lot that could happen here, like if everything like falls in the right place, it's still Phillip Rivers. So
Yeah, the one good thing is his touchdown percentage should bounce back. It was horrific last year, though. 3.9% on it was 23 touchdowns on 591 fucking attempts.
Yikes!
That should bounce back.
Year. He had a bad year last year. It was fucking gross.
Yeah, that should bounce back next year and be a little bit better at least.
Agreed. And I expect the Colts to be a bit balanced too, so I don't expect a ton of volume from Rivers. But from a balance standpoint, you've got Jonathan Taylor going as the running back 22 at the 403. Incumbent Marlin Mac as the running back 36, and then Nyheim Hines going as the 55. Hines is a value. Marlon Mack I want to believe in, but it's really hard for me. And I think Jonathan Taylor at the 22, given that offensive line and how explosive he is, could outperform that ADP in his rookie year. But I think it's, docked about the right amount for how's that volume share going to show up and lack of receiving upside to start.
So as I talk about, how it changes, how one day can change just a player's ADP, Jonathan Taylor has moved back to the RB29 at 6'11".
Oh.
That is absurd.
Marlon Mack, and this is 6 days worth, 1,037 drafts have taken place during that span. Nyheim Hines has pretty much remained the same as we expected. That shouldn't change.
That is insane.
Marlon Mack is actually ahead of Jonathan Taylor. Marlon Mack moved up to RB24 to 506.
No.
Why?
So, it's like I said, this is gonna constantly fluctuate. Where in late June we still have 2 months worth of drafting plus. We're not even into the main drafting portion of redraft leagues. But this again explains the mess of this backfield. Give me Jonathan Taylor all day. I don't care about their ADPs. He's going to go no higher than round 3, I think. And that's getting a bit rich, but there's so much upside on this offense, top 5 offensive line. This should be a better offensive team, even with Phillip Rivers at the helm. Should be balanced as a good young defense. It's a wide open division for them to have a chance to compete in. And Taylor is one of the best running back prospects we've seen in a long time. I like Marlon Mack. You guys know that I love Marlon Mack. I think Mack will fall into what role we all thought he was going to be coming out of college, and that's more of a satellite back plus. I don't think Nyheim Hines is going to be much of a thing. So give me JT at potentially low risk if you go RB heavy to start, and all the upside in the world.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't really have a whole lot of interest in Hines. He only got 96 touches last year, and now he's in a more crowded backfield. So don't care about Hines. Give me Taylor of the 2 main backs as well, unless Mac really slips. And it sounds like the opposite's happening right now.
Yep, it's just Jonathan Taylor for me. I think that there's no way he doesn't outperform that ADP.
Yeah, and also Mac's been kind of pedestrian given how good his offensive line is.
Right.
Yeah, he is. He's been good enough.
Jonathan Taylor, if he has some holes, we've seen what he can do. So I think that the sky's the limit for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor would not be a guy I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up creeping up into mid to high round 3 by the time most drafts are rolling.
Oh no, I fully expect if there's preseason games this year, it's like with Kyle Zalaire. All it takes is one run, and that's it. It's going to be like fucking who's the running back for Detroit? This is
Swift.
It's on the Vikings now. No.
Abdullah.
Same thing. One run, it's all it takes for his hype to fly off the board.
So,
especially now when there's no off-season workouts or nothing, we're starved for those fucking hype videos. One run, that's all it takes.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan Taylor, even if he gets up into round 3, can finish as a running back 1.
I think he'll be a league winner.
That's the bold end of things. But I think if he sneaks up to, I said running back 3. I think if he sneaks up to round 3, that I'm still probably willing to pay that price, given the upside that's there. Because I think he can outperform it.
Yeah. And if you can get him, if you start running back heavy, and he's your RB3. I said the same thing about Goedert. There's very little risk into that because you don't need to lean on him early on.
Does it only take one run?
It doesn't only take one run, yes.
T.Y. Hilton, 505, wide receiver 20, the only wide receiver we're trusting. Yes. I don't think you can trust any other wide receiver here as much as, Pittman, you want to...
I don't trust them, but I am intrigued by both of them.
Pittman
and Campbell.
Yeah.
I have no interest in Pittman this year. Very little, at least.
Campbell's...
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, Campbell's somewhat intriguing, but what has Phillip Rivers done with burners here over the last couple of years? And it's not much. So, T.Y. Hilton's going to play a lot of that same kind of type of role. Intermediate is what Campbell would be. So I have a hard time seeing separation in those two roles. Pittman's the different type of receiver that I think could be a Keenan Allen type, but if I take him, it's going to be stupid late, or I'm just taking upside of whatever's left. I'm not willing to put a dart throw on that on a guy that was a solid prospect coming out, but wasn't necessarily otherworldly. And you're missing OTAs, you're missing rookie mini camps. Who knows what it's going to be like come training camp and everything. So it's got to be a little tepid there on rookie wide receivers, which is something we've talked about over the past couple of weeks, is being tepid with certain rookie positions.
They are going in rounds, I believe, 10 and 15. So we're not talking about, you're not paying for them.
So
right.
I know there's only so much you can buy into coach speak. They already talked about they're going to have Paris Campbell operate out of the slot. So I like Paris Campbell this year. We've seen what Phillip Rivers historically has done with the slot receiver, though Campbell is no Keenan Allen.
His best receiver.
But that means Pittman's playing
receiver,
outside. So. What's that?
I said Rivers' best receiver was a slot receiver, though, and I think it was more A-dot, if you will, than it was where it was lined up.
So, at least Paris Campbell is extremely fast, so there is some, if this offense can open up a little bit, there's some excitement there. I just don't, if they're going to put Pittman outside, all I see is Mike Williams, and, I'm not excited to buy a vertical, big-bodied receiver that is going to be fighting for number 2, 3, and 4 in targets. So, I'm also not that high in Pittman. So.
Well, of the two, I do want Campbell more, given their current price. Campbell's the cheaper one, and even if they were equal, I'd probably still take Campbell. But somebody else is going to get volume in here besides Hilton and Doyle, so I am intrigued by one of them.
Sure.
Yeah. So Hilton did move up. Hilton is actually one spot above A.J. Brown. I think we also talked about him earlier. So
he should be down close to wide receiver 22-ish.
Yeah.
So right now, Ty is at the 402, wide receiver 14. There's 9 receivers in that 4th round ADP right now, though. So it's one fucking cluster. Again, from Hilton to Brown, Sutton, Moore, Allen, Diggs, Metcalf, Lockett, Debo is still there, so I expect that to change drastically. So you can even move in guys like DJ Chark and Robert Woods, Odell Beckham. So there's it's just how you feel about his upside, I guess.
Okay. Jack Doyle, you mentioned him. What is Doyle's upside this year? There's got to be some love for him. We've seen Rivers use the tight end. As Nick said, somebody else is going to get volume. I think that Jack Doyle is probably your most likely, especially to get between the 20s volume. Outperforming tight end 18, yeah, I see that. He's another guy that just, again, late round tight ends.
He'll outperform tight end 18, but he doesn't have a ceiling is the problem.
It's a high floor.
He doesn't score touchdowns, and his average per target's 6.6 yards.
His floor is so high it is the ceiling.
Yes, he is literally a 2D plane of where his floor and ceiling are.
The ceiling.
He's somebody you want in 2 tight end leagues, but you're just
or as a safe backup,
tight end premium. If you're getting 1.5 points, per catch, then sure.
Sure. Anything else on the Colts? Great. That's about how excited I was to talk about them. The Jaguars. So, how much love is too much love for Minshew? I don't know. I don't know how much love is too much love for Minshew. I don't think I've found that limit yet.
Limit does not exist.
To try to play
Limit does not exist.
Yeah. Try to play analyst with Minshew. He figures to have weapons. We've seen him be mobile. We've seen him come out and produce. Back end quarterback one is within the range of possibilities for him. I think streamer is definite. I probably like him somewhere around that 14 to 17 range.
I am way lower than that.
Of course,
unfortunately.
I mean, this is also coming from the guy that, thinks that Flavor of India is better than Gateway to India, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
I 100% stand by that. And just with Minshew, the volume really wasn't there. He doesn't score rushing touchdowns, even though he is kind of mobile. He had only 2+ touchdowns in 3 of his final 8 starts. I don't see the path to him being a back-end QB1. So he's maybe a situational streamer at best is kind of where I view him.
All right, so
that's
kind of what 14 to 16 is.
No, I'd have him more down in like the 20-25 range where you're starting him in plus matchups only and dropping him immediately after.
I mean, it's okay to be wrong.
So, would you feel comfortable, Nick, with him as your QB2 super flex leagues?
I wouldn't love it. I wouldn't feel like a contender unless the rest of my team was stacked. But if I'm more of a middling team, I'd be okay with. I'm fine with him. I think he's going to be the starter the whole year, but I definitely would be trying to upgrade that.
Do you do Minshew or Rivers as your QB2? Which one would you want?
I'm
just trying to get a gauge of where you like.
I think I'd probably take Rivers though. They're pretty much right on each other's heels.
Sure. Yeah, there is a little bit of rushing for with Minshew, 340 rush yards last year. For a 6th round pick, though, he came in and I think outperformed everybody's expectations. 230 yards a game, touchdown rate of 4.5, which is not terrible. The interception rate was super low, and I don't see him regressing. I think that he does improve year over year. Again, 6th round pick coming into the league, and hey, you're starting immediately. And I think he held up a lot better than most people thought he was going to. We like Minshew. We didn't know it was going to happen year one. And then he got put in year one and very, very much, held his own better than some quarterbacks that are year 2, year 3 with a lot higher draft capital and pedigree. So, for me, I just think that Gardner Minshew is going to progress this year, not regress. And I think that progression could carry him, upwards towards that mid-teens.
Yeah, there's just a lot of you add in Lavicia Chenault, you bring on Jay Gruden, who did wonders for Kirk Cousins in Washington. Not to say that Minshew's going to become Cousins, but I think he did enough last year to warrant I won't say he's safe. You can't, and then trying to predict rushing touchdowns is impossible for quarterbacks unless you're Josh Allen for some reason.
You want to see a guy with at least a somewhat of a nose for it, where he get at least 1 or 2. So
that
0.
Leonard Fournette, 3 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, 3 rushing touchdowns.
They scored 24 total touchdowns last year.
Yeah, again,
the offense was
bad defense. The offense got better. You have to assume they're going to score a little more points. Year 2 for Minshew, there's no competition. He got benched for Foles, mid-season, which obviously made no sense. So there's very little distraction for him. And now, people have kind of come down off the Minshew mania. I think he has decent upside. Does he have league winning upside? No, I don't think so. But I think he has streamer plus upside to him.
Sure. Onto the running backs for this team. It's going to be Leonard Fournette. Does he see the same target volume as last year? And is running back 16 too high, too low, or just right. I think it's a little too low given the volume that he was going to see. But Nick, Dan, your thoughts?
Yeah, way too low.
So moved up. He is now the 210. He's the RB12.
That's more like it.
That's
Yeah.
better.
I'm all aboard Fournette. Again, we just talked about touchdown regression to the mean. There's like he can easily see 10 plus touchdowns. It's hard to predict, but I can see him getting the double digit touchdowns, even with the reduced target volume. Like, is he going to see 100 targets again? No, I don't think he will.
But why?
I don't think he needs to.
But why?
Yeah, I expect targets to come down, but I do expect touchdowns to regress up to his about half a touchdown a game that he's seen through his career instead of 3.
I don't know that the targets are going to come down as much as people think. I mean, yes, he doubled his previous career high. It might drop 20 to 30, but my question when it comes to targets is, but why? Why do we think that they're going to come down? What has changed in this receiving core? And don't tell me it's a raw talent that couldn't stay on the field in college named Laviska Shenault in year 1.
Are you hating on Laviska Shenault now?
I don't hate Laviska Shenault, but again, raw talent, super high upside, year 1 wide receiver. We've talked about how we need to fade rookie wide receivers a little bit coming into this season because of the lack of what's going to happen in the offseason. So what's changed to take a ton of targets away from Leonard Fournette?
I'm not going to say Chris Thompson because that's not the answer. There's not a real answer to change that. It's just, do we really think that Leonard Fournette is a 100 target guy?
No,
I agree with you. Like, I don't think it's going to drop down that much.
Do you think he regresses back to 48? Because I'm thinking probably 75 to 80 range.
I think he's going to be in the
I never said
55 to 65 range is probably where he's at.
I think he ends up being where Melvin Gordon, I think, like what did he do was around that 65 to 75 range. I think is a very fair.
I was going to
guesstimate for that.
Put him probably in 70 to 75 range.
Okay, so we're all on the same page there.
Yeah.
Like I agree. And if someone says Chris Thompson, tell him to fuck off because he may not even make the team.
Right, and there's not. It's not like there's another back there waiting for it. They declined the fifth. They declined the 5th-year option. They're going to ride him into the ground.
This is going to be. I wouldn't even be shocked if they moved him. Like if some team got desperate, like let's say David Johnson does get hurt. Do you think Bill O'Brien's not going to go out there and fucking throw out some like trade capital or throw out some draft capital to disgruntled little Leonard Fournette?
Does he have draft capital left?
He'll find it. Like he'll find something. Like I'm sure he has reign of second sitting around.
You're just gonna make like the U.S. Treasury and print more draft capital.
He's just gonna print like he has the.
We're gonna get some quantitative easing on this draft.
Anyway, who's around Fournette?
All right, so we'll do the same thing. The same thing we did for Brown. So Fournette's RB12, RB10 right now is Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb or Fournette?
Chubb.
Yeah. Even though I like Hunt a lot too, Chubb's just so goddamn talented.
I honestly think they're both the same player for this year. But like I said, I like them both, so I don't really care. Miles Sanders or Leonard Fournette?
Fournette.
Probably Fournette, but it's going to be a lot on how that offense is looking coming into the draft. That one I could probably flip back and forth multiple times here.
Yeah. I'm also stupid high on Miles Sanders, so I'm not falling off that train just yet. This one could be interesting for Hopper here. Fournette or Austin Eckler?
Who?
2-spot difference right now.
Probably Fournette because of the insulated volume.
I just love the touches, so give me Fournette as well.
Yeah, it's a volume thing for me on Fournette, even though I trust Eckler's efficiency, and I do think he's a bit of a value.
All right, here's a bigger one. Fournette or Kenyon Drake?
Kenyon Drake.
They are 6 spots.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. We all know my love for Kenyon Drake will never die, but Kenyon Drake has top, 5 to 6 upside this year. Not dynasty.
You love Drake the same way that I love Miles Sanders. So.
Not touching it in dynasty unless I'm getting a competing team, but in redraft, hell yeah, give me that value on Kenyon Drake.
Nick Fournette or Kenyon Drake?
I'll take Fournette, but you know my thoughts on Kenyon Drake as well.
Don't need to rehash
Kenyon
that. We're
Drake.
not throwing it back that far.
We still got a week or two.
By the way,
Throwback Monday.
By the way, Nick, wish you could have been here for the Brian Hoyer episode.
Yeah. I got into it for about 5 minutes last night.
Not even. It was more like 5 seconds.
30 seconds.
I tried to find the old rant and I couldn't find the notes for it. I deleted those
That's
and
funny.
probably digitally burned them someplace. I say a lot these days.
You do.
DJ Chark, 508, wide receiver 24. Worth it? I'd have to know who's around him to know how I feel about that, honestly.
Well, he hasn't moved. He's at the 503. He's moved up one spot in the rankings. One spot ahead of him is Deebo Samuel. So we'll just kind of we won't talk about that. So we'll go. Yeah. So we'll start from the top again. 2 ahead, 2 behind. DK Metcalf, 408, wide receiver 20.
I'd go Metcalf.
Yeah, Metcalf.
Okay, his teammate his teammate Tyler Lockett, 3 spots behind Metcalf, wide receiver 21.
That makes no sense. Lockett should be ahead of Metcalf.
Yeah, I'll lock it.
Okay. And then behind Chark, we have Odell Beckham. Same ADP, just 1 spot behind for some reason.
Also take Beckham.
Yeah, I'd take Beckham there too.
Okay. I agree. I'd take Chark over Metcalf. I think that's what you guys said. So I definitely.
No, I'd take Beckham over Chark.
No, I'm talking about Metcalf.
I'd take
Metcalf.
I'd take Metcalf over Chark. We both said Metcalf over Chark.
Okay.
I would take all of the above over Chark.
So far.
Yeah, keep
I'm
going.
in the same boat then.
Keep going. Let's get to a point where I take DJ Chark over somebody.
Okay. Robert Woods. 505, 25. Woods.
That's closer.
AJ Green. Is it close? Okay.
Oh, AJ Green, definitely for me.
Yeah. Also Green.
We'll go 1 spot ahead Metcalf. Stephon Diggs.
Oh, okay, that one's closer for me, and I don't know why Diggs is up that high.
I don't either.
I've
spoken my thoughts on Diggs. I would take Chark over Diggs.
I'd probably go Chark in that one, but keep going down that list.
I will. I think it starts to get really close. I think you'll find your first one here. Michael Gallup.
Chark.
It's a 601.
Chark, yeah.
Chark.
Okay,
that's strictly, I actually think Gallup might be the better player, but there's not enough targets there.
CeeDee Lamb's an indictment on Michael Gallup from that team, even though I love Gallup's talent.
Oh, yeah. There's 2 guys behind him. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. So, Terry McLaurin or Chark.
Terry.
I'd probably go Terry.
Okay. Juju Smith-Schuster.
Juju. Yeah.
Okay.
McLaurin's actually a lot closer for me than Juju is. Juju's being disrespected right now.
Heavily.
Yeah, Chark is too high right now, I believe.
So those guys are around behind Chark. I'm a big fan of Chark this year. Again, this just speaks to why I wait on receiver because there's a lot I love Robert Woods this year. Like he to me is who I'm targeting if I start running back heavy because I think there's a massive upside for him.
I think what I just learned is I want DJ Chark, even though he's the wide receiver 1 in an offense where I trust the quarterback, probably about 6 spots later.
Yeah.
Does that tell you about your Minshew love?
That he's going to spread the ball out and not have hungry eyes for any one person. That Josh
so
Oliver.
Is this where you give us your love for Mr. Westbrook?
No, this is where I give you my love for Mr. Oliver. Which really isn't a whole lot of love. It's another super athletic tight end that caught a lot of hype last year before he got hurt, basically, and missed most of the season. O'Shaughnessy is not it. I think Minshew will do well, given his particular brand of offense, to have an athletic tight end at his disposal. And I think that Josh Oliver is another one of those late round athletic tight ends that I want to target. As far as D.D. Westbrook, we've wanted the breakout. I think he's going to merit some targets. I don't know if it's going to be enough to be super relevant, but he should merit probably somewhere in the 80 target range. DJ Chark, 118 targets last year. That's definitely repeatable. I just don't know how much I want to bet on him over some of these other guys that are just, I think, more talented. personally.
Yeah, Chark was way inconsistent last year.
He was.
And also Chark was 100, or Westbrook was 101 targets last year, so I do think he'll probably be 90 plus again. So he's at least ownable.
Okay. Yeah. Nope, I got you there.
They did also add Tyler Eifert. So.
Okay, so Eifert will be there for 2 weeks.
Yep. The whole tight end core couldn't stay healthy, and then they add in one of the most injury prone tight ends in Tyler Eifert.
They can't all get injured, right?
No. They all may.
Really? Just go ask Houston that question.
They all get concussions.
Somebody go ask the Bears who are on their 6th-string tight end by the end of the season.
Yeah, that's true.
DJ Chark basically had to have 10 targets to be relevant, to be good, by the way. Basically had to have 10 targets a game. The only week he put up over 100 yards on fewer than 10 targets was week 1, where he did it on 4. Every other week that he was upwards of 100 yards was 10-plus targets. He had 1 week over 70 without 10-plus targets. So, DJ Chark needs volume to be consistently good.
That's most receivers.
Yeah, but most receivers can do volume in the 7 to 9 target range to be, useful. Most don't require DeAndre Hopkins level of targets. I'm just saying.
Well, I know.
Anything else on Jackson? Oh, the other reason I like Minshew, by the way, the defense is going to be dog shit. Let's not underestimate that.
That will help.
Chark too. Oh, like he could be Allen Robinson.
We know what Jacksonville offenses can do when they're playing from behind. We know what Jacksonville quarterbacks can do when there's garbage time to be had.
And we know that Minshew, dare I say it, is better than Blake Bortles.
And that's our show. I am. You cannot make me give a take on that. I will not give a take on that.
No. I wasn't expecting you to give one.
You cannot force me to choose.
I will not force you to choose.
Nick, thanks for coming back and earning your analyst spot.
Of course.
You shall now
be
I got one more question.
Oh. Okay.
I'm just kidding. No one gives a fuck. Okay.
Yeah, does anybody care about the AFC South?
I think we found that out when I tried to get someone to jump on the show.
Is it the Titans?
I had to make Nick work.
Is it the Titans? Or are they the favorite in this division?
Yeah, they have to be the far. I would take them against the field.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
I think Houston will give them a run. Watson can figure shit out.
If there's one thing we know about Houston giving somebody a run, it's probably going to go for 3.5 yards.
And that's the show.
And that's our show.
That's our show. Thank you,
done,
AFC
boys.
South, for being fucking AFC South.
FantasyHeadliners.com, promo code beer, pick up their draft guide. You won't regret it. If you've listened to this part, though, till this part of the show, you probably regret it. Super energetic AFC South episode. I am at Hot BFF with 2 Ps. For at Thury BFF, at Nick Spartz, actually Dan, Nick, any parting words?
Go pick up the draft guide. I'll be getting a copy here before Scott Fishbowl. Hopefully it'll lend me some help there, and I'm looking forward to using it for all my drafts. Everyone who's listening who's in Scott Fishbowl, good luck.
Good luck.
And have fun. I'm off to do more work. See y'all.
I still have no clue where my division is for Scott Fishbowl.
I know where mine is.
I know. I'm sorry. There's still a chance.
Is there?
There's 96%. There's still 4% of the invites left for Anthony.
Are you sure those all aren't just giveaways at some point?
I don't know. I'm just saying. There's still a chance.